list. Today we're doing TFT Set 10. It's been out for a little while now. There's definitely been some patch notes and some changes and buffs and nerfs. But overall, I'm going to be putting in everybody who I think is the best and worst. Obviously, by doing that, any of these champs can be S tier or D tier based on traits, items, everything else. But overall, this is what I've seen. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us get started. I think we'll just start with Yorick at S. I think he's probably the most splashable 5 cost in the game. He's pretty good. His ability is very nice, having other units come onto the field. And he's definitely a nice tank. His traits are very viable, being able to splash in something like Guardian. And he's pretty good. He's definitely worth the 5 cost pickup, and definitely worth trying to put into your team. Now, a new person, Jax, who I've always said is pretty much one of the strongest characters in the game, as always. He's S tier, mostly because at the start of every single set, nobody plays him, realizes that he's still the same from last set and OP as hell. And now he's one of the strongest champs in the game, and I'm sure he will be nerfed very, very soon. But his ability is great. His traits are great. There's definitely nothing bad about Jax. I'm sure soon enough they will nerf him to the ground. But for right now, he is definitely an S tier legend. Let's see, Cassante. I'm just going to put in B. Excuse me. I think he's good for starting the game. You know, I think he's very splashable at the beginning with the Sentinel, not so much Heartsteel, unless you get it early, but he's okay. He's definitely an okay 1 cost. He's not going to be your main carry or do anything too great, but he's definitely splashable at the very beginning of the game. Now, Kennen, I'm going to put an A. While he is a 1 cost, having 3 traits as a 1 cost, and a lot of those being very able to fit into most any comps, especially early game, I think that makes him very, very viable and very strong for almost anybody's board. His ability is alright, it's nothing crazy. I don't think he can, carry you by any means, maybe early game, but definitely the reason why I put him in A is mostly because he has 3 traits as a 1 cost. Definitely makes him very, very strong. Urgot, I'm also going to put into S. I think he has very good traits. I think Urgot's pretty much always been very strong. And I think his ability is nice. If you get the right items on him, it's even, better. I don't know what the heck just happened there. But I do think that Urgot is definitely a top tier unit. I think he's worth it almost always. Akali, so there's 2 of them. I'm going to put both of them in S tier. I think her ability is so strong, being able to essentially dash in and out and not be targeted. She does a good amount of damage. You put the right items on her, it's great. She's got 3 traits as a 4 cost, so she's always very able to be put in. I think she's definitely one of the best champs consistently. Another S tier, I think I gotta put Karthus there. Minimum Karthus is an A, but I do think that Karthus is definitely one of the strongest champs if you can give him enough time. He has one of the best alts in the game, best abilities in the game, whatever you'd like to call it, and his traits are pretty good. The worst thing about him is that he takes a little bit too long to cast, but obviously you can do your best to affect that with items and whatnot. But he's definitely worth S, at worst an A for sure. Senna. Man, Senna I think is probably the best 2 cost in the game, to be honest. I think she deserves an S tier. I think her ability is super, super strong. And with true damage, it's very good having, obviously, true damage, but that trait is very balanced as far as having, frontline units, backline units. That definitely can make some champs succeed or not. Nico, Damn, I think I gotta put Nico in S2. I think she deserves it, mostly again because she has 3 traits and she's a 3 cost, but she's definitely a very good tank. She's definitely splashable with Guardian, with Super Fan. She's a great KDA champ. Now, I would say that a lot of people overall use her relatively consistently, but usually anybody that's 3 cost or less isn't too bad to try and 3-star. Um, and she's definitely one of those. She's pretty decently 3-starred in most lobbies. Another 3 cost S tier I think is Echo. Again, you see the whatchamacallit going on here. 3 traits for a 3 cost, and he's going in S tier. I think that makes him again very splashable. He's a very nice tank. He's a good unit overall, and all 3 of his traits are pretty good. So Echo's definitely a solid guy. Katarina. Unfortunately, I am a Katarina fan, but this is probably the worst set that she is in. You don't even play her with Country. Crowd Diver is definitely not a very strong trait overall compared to a lot of the others. I think it's one of the weaker ones. So unfortunately, she's just not a great champ in this set. Now she can still do well. I don't want to say that she can carry necessarily, but again, any of these champs could be S or D tier. But Katarina is definitely good early game, but you're going to end up dropping her and replacing her with better people in her traits. Thresh, I'll give Thresh an A. I think he's pretty good. I think to be able to essentially put in a 4 cost champ with Guardian, if you're running that, is pretty good. And his ability is very strong. But I definitely don't think he's S tier. But I kind of just don't think he's B. I think he's worth the pickup most of the time. He's pretty good overall. Nothing super bad to say about him, but he just doesn't. He's not this, game-breaking unit that's gonna, go crazy for you like some of these other champs. Who we got? Kaisa. Kaisa I'll put into A. I think she's a little bit more dependent on the right items, but I do think she's very strong. I think she's very good. Her traits are pretty good. Her ability is nice, being able to dash and move a lot, so it makes her a little bit harder to kill for sure. But I just don't think she has the bump into S, but she is very, very solid champ. She's probably one of the only 2 costs that can really carry you and be your headliner and whatnot. Who else do we want to do? Set. Honestly, Set to me is just lackluster. Even though he's a 3 cost 3 trait, I don't think that those traits are very super splashable, to be honest. You got to be running certain things. I feel like nobody really runs Heartsteel. And while he is a decent tank, there's just so many other better champs that you can run or put in instead of him. I don't think he's bad by any means. At the best, he's A. I don't think he's lower than B, but Blitzcrank, I'll put an A. I think he's probably the best 4 cost tank. Maybe Zach, but I would say at a 4 cost tank that would be Blitzcrank. Zach is pretty good. I think he's definitely one of the 4 cost units that you can throw in quite a bit, and his ability is pretty decent. But he just still doesn't get that into S. But he is very good. Same with Blitzcrank. I think Blitzcrank is definitely much more able to be put into comps than a lot. Olaf, I'm going to put into B. Unless you got like Rageblade, Bloodthirster, and shit, he's pretty bad. I do think early game he's pretty good trait-wise, and you can definitely keep him if you are running, 3-star Olaf with, full in-slot items. But again, as a 1 cost, he's not really super great to me. Who we got? Corky. Honestly, Corky to me is B2. He just doesn't really carry. Anytime you're running 8-bit, you usually just do 4, and Corky is not in that. Um, he's not that bad, but, again, these 1 costs, it's hard to put them so much higher than anything else. And again, the only reason Kinnan is just because he has 3 traits, really. Oh, who we got? Twitch? Honestly, I'm going to put Twitch into A. I think Twitch is super underrated and underused. His traits are pretty good, and he definitely does a good amount of damage without you seeing it. He's definitely a pretty solid carry, honestly. I've enjoyed using him, and he's definitely surprisingly wrecked some of my teams, or at least had a good part in wrecking it. So I think he deserves an A. Amumu, I think I gotta put Amumu in S. I think Amumu is probably one of the best tanks in the game. He has essentially built-in Titan's Resolve, but it doesn't even stop at the 25, is it 15 or 25? Whatever it is, the 25 cap of Titans. He just continues to gain armor and magic resistance the more that somebody attacks him and the more he attacks. If you put the right items on him, or pretty much any items, he's going to be an insane tank and just get stronger as the round goes on. And even so, his ability is definitely not that bad. It's definitely pretty underrated to do an area effect decent damage for a tank when you're that tanky to be able to do that much damage while also tanking that much as well. I think he's definitely very strong and definitely very splashable with the Guardian trait. And honestly, most of the time you can splash him in with the emo trait as well if you're running at least one, obviously. Bringing up another emo, I'm going to put Poppy into A. I do think she's pretty good, but to be honest, I feel like I just don't really see her that much. I think, again, she's just kind of one of those champs that you don't really see consistently. She's more of you bring in to get that trait, whether it's emo or Mosher. Now, she can definitely carry. She's definitely good. She's not bad. But overall, I can't really put her into S because I don't feel like she really deserves it too much. Um, let's see, Lulu. I think I'll put Lulu into A, mostly because she at least automatically gets you a trait. Um, and she's very versatile being able to do that. You can move her in and out of your comp, so I'll give that to her. Her ability is definitely not bad, but overall she's definitely like, this is like A minus right here. Lucian, I'll give to S. I think he's definitely a very strong 5-cost carry. A little bit harder to fit into comps unless you're running something similar, or whatever comp you have has one of those units, but definitely worth the pickup. Ez, for 4-cost, Ez to me is not that great. I've never really seen or experienced an Ez that was a great carry. That might just be me. I definitely know as a 4-cost and his ability is definitely not bad. That he can't carry, but I don't think he is too fantastic. Tom Kinch, honestly, pretty bad this set. Same with Tarek. Vi, I probably have to say, is like the worst champ in the game because they never change her. She's always the exact same. Evelyn is okay to start, but not super great unless it's the very beginning of the game. Jin I'm gonna put into A, and the only reason why is because his traits, he's definitely, there's always that champ that's really good but hard to fit into comps unless you're running it or you just go ahead and put him in whether he gives you a trait or not. Samira, I don't know if they nerfed her recently, but man, she seems so bad now. At the worst, she's B. She could definitely go into A. I feel like she is strong, but man, I don't know what it is about her lately, but she's not that great. I must have missed a patch or something. Caitlyn. I think I'll put Caitlyn into S. I think she deserves it with how strong her ability is, being able to take out multiple units if you can hit them. And her traits are a little splashable, nothing too insane. Seraphine, I personally really like. I think her ability is super good. Being able to hit the biggest area and heal and do damage all at once. And her traits are pretty decent as well to be able to throw her in. I think she's definitely worth putting in A for sure. Gnar, I'll put into A as well. I think, again, because he's a 2-cost with 3 traits, it makes him pretty viable for the most part, pretty versatile. But I don't really think that his ability or anything is that great. I mean, he's decent for sure, but definitely, again, an A because of his 3 traits. Annie, I'll put Annie into A. She definitely was broken when the set first came out. She's definitely gotten nerfed and changed since then, but she's still very strong. She's probably the strongest 1-cost in the game, arguably one of them for sure. And again, early game she's definitely very splashable. Yasuo, I gotta put in B. I don't think he's been very great this set. His traits are pretty decent, and his ability's not that bad, but he just, as a 1-cost, he definitely doesn't even hit that, really, to me. Kale, kind of the same thing, unless you have Rage Blade on her, she's pretty much useless, not gonna lie. Zed, I gotta put into B. I just don't think that he's very usable. Don't get me wrong, he's definitely strong if you have the right stuff and with the right items, but just you're much more likely to hit a different 4-cost and have them carry you better than Zed and his traits. Lilia, I'll give to B. 1-cost 3 trait, but I do think she's a little bit worse than Kennen. She definitely seems to fall off harder, and maybe that's because she's a frontline unit and Kennen isn't. But she's definitely very, very good in the early game, being able to splash any of that stuff in. Mordekaiser, I'm not gonna lie, I forget his second one. No, it's Pentakill something. But I'll give him an A. I think he's a very strong 3-cost champ. Pretty hard to kill with the right items and stuff. Does a pretty good amount of damage. Viego, same thing. Just pretty good overall. Nothing really bad to say about him, but doesn't get that umph. Alawi, I'll give to A, mostly because she brings in her tentacles. But if you're not running Bruiser, you're pretty much not throwing her in unless you just want a 5-cost out there. Lux is pretty lackluster for right now. I think she has the ability to be pretty good with the right stuff, but for right now she definitely feels kind of weak overall. Pantheon, nothing really good or bad to say about him. He's a decent tank, but I don't know, he doesn't break shit for me. Bard, I'll give Bard an A for sure. I think his traits are good. His ability is very nice, being able to do multiple things per cast. So, definitely makes him a strong unit. Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate I'll probably put into S. He does a shit ton of damage to multiple units and pretty good traits. Well, if you're... he's very splashable with the traits, mostly with Dazzler, but if you're running Disco, he's definitely the carry. Garen as a 2-cost, I'll give to A. I think he's pretty decent. I think he's very splashable with the 2-cost with Sentinel and an early 8-bit. Naomi, I haven't really experienced her too much, but I always see that she's super strong, mostly with items, but she's definitely a very good unit overall, especially for a one cost. I just personally I don't see her a lot, so I don't get to experience her too much. Um, Yone, I'll give to A, mostly again because he has three traits. I definitely don't think he's bad. He can maybe carry with the right, headliner and traits and whatnot, but I don't feel like he's S tier, but I wouldn't drop him down to B. Um, Aphelios, honestly, I feel like this is probably the weakest Aphelios we've seen. Um, so I'm going to put him in B. Riven. I don't know. Riven to me this set is not that great. I've never really enjoyed Riven personally. I did in one of them, one of the sets. I think it was like Nightbringer or something, but she just doesn't seem to do a whole lot this set. Jinx, I'll give to A. I think she's definitely one of the better one-cost carries in the game if you have the right items, especially. But also because of her traits, she's pretty easy to one-cost because of them. Vex. Vex, I'm gonna give to A. I almost want to put him in S because his ability is that good. Or hers, I actually don't know. But um, a little harder to throw in all the time, but definitely worth it if you can, because that ability, being able to stun them slash fear them for a couple seconds while also doing that much damage is pretty strong. Misfortune, not that great this set to be honest. Um, Zig's kind of the same thing, just not really a splashable 5 cost unless you're running certain stuff. Kiana, I will give to A. I don't think she is as good as, honestly, I don't think she's as good as Akali, um, but not too bad. Kane I'll give to A mostly because of um, him being able to get splashed into a comp a little bit better. I mean, Kiana probably easier than him, but it is what it is. Sona I gotta put in B as well. Honestly, if you don't have the right item, she's pretty shit. Um, but even if you do, just having essentially Spellweaver by itself is not always the best. Ari, Ari definitely deserves an A, maybe an S. She's definitely very good. And then I'll put Gragas into A only because he's a 2 cost with 3 traits, really. I really want to have him carry because of his ability, because he heals so much, but I don't know. It's just hard to make him work overall. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this TFT Set 10 tier list. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.